For a mega carrier, JB Hunt emphasizes that you can make great wages with just 3 to 6 months of experience. And a lot of these accounts are dedicated for the most part. Drivers who decide to work for JB Hunt, they are working for an industry leader in transportation. Drivers also experience great home time, with over 90% of company drivers at JB Hunt either home weekly or home every single day. 50% of the truckers at JB Hunt are local, and it seems like there's just something for everybody, just in case an account specifically may not be the best for you, as they offer dedicated contract services, final mile services, and intermodal. And as I mentioned, you have the opportunity to make a lot of money at JB Hunt, well over $70,000 with just 3 months of trucking experience. You get great home time, you accrue PTO from day one, and it seems like this company has it going on. And that is until you realize JB Hunt may be down bad. They have consistently underperformed earnings expectations for the past 2 years, citing a weak freight market. And it seems like the bad news from JB Hunt just does not end, as we have breaking news from a fellow trucker, Trucking with Kayla, that JB Hunt has actually cut wages on the Home Depot account.
I say this every time. I don't know if it's going to be, is JB Hunt playing with my money? Same old typical old mega company, but y'all get it. It is what it is. So let's get into it.
So the Home Depot account is actually one of the several accounts available under the dedicated contract services accounts. JB Hunt has well over 600 dedicated accounts, and when you go on their website, it's actually pretty vague on the responsibilities for their dedicated accounts. You actually have to speak to a recruiter to find out what accounts specifically are available in your area. In addition to that, it's actually hard to see what the compensation breaks down to, which is again something that you'd have to speak to a recruiter about, because all you see on their website is averages. When you tell a driver that they can make up to $90,000 a year, I mean, that doesn't really tell you anything. I mean, what do you have to do to make that type of money? What does the work-life balance consist of? But thankfully, we have people on the internet that are not afraid to show their pay stubs and be transparent about how much a trucking company that is, really pays. So now we have Trucking with Kayla. Now, Trucking with Kayla is somebody who's currently employed at JB Hunt, and she's actually somebody that I've been following for quite a while, and she's pretty transparent when it comes to revealing her pay with these trucking companies. And given that she does not have the best MVR record in the world, it's actually hindered her from seeking employment at better, I guess, quote unquote, better trucking companies. And there's actually a laundry list of trucking companies that have essentially barred her from working there because of her MVR record. It's actually pretty ridiculous.
Hell, man, one of my dream companies ain't having her, so it's going to be 41. Well, I can actually add more because I've been applying.
She's actually at a much better situation as a driver on their dedicated Home Depot account. At least it seemed like she was in a much better situation.
Going to be making over the weekly guarantee, so that's why we don't give it to first shift. So I'm like, well, that's a good thing. I don't need the weekly guarantee if I'm making more money, you know?
I get that there's speculation out there that they want to replace us, they want to automate trucking, but until then, we are truck drivers, we are human beings, and we do have feelings. And when you cut wages, when you do shady stuff behind the scenes without telling us, that kind of does piss us off, which has been the case with our friend Kayla here. JB Hunt, the Home Depot account, has cut wages. They ended up dropping the drop pay.
I'm excited. I'm like, I got good miles. I've been picking up all week. You get paid per drop. So I'm over here doing double drops and hooks. I done pick up an extra load, so I done drop the hook here. Oh, this check gonna be smooth. Check it again. No drop. So I'm like, oh yeah, I came in to work fire.
Now, I'm not completely sure where Kayla is based out of. I want to say she lives in Illinois. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure she lives in the Midwest Great Lakes region, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, that Home Depot account ended up merging with, I guess, another Home Depot account out of Van Buren, Ohio. And right after they merged, the pay suddenly just changed all of a sudden. It's very, very strange. Kayla's actually very transparent when it comes to the pay. She only pretty much mentions the take-home numbers. So she was taking home $1,100 to $1,300 a week, and she was only working 35 to 40 hours a week.
During the days, I'm still working 30, 40 hours, making in a comma. Like, where is you getting it at?
Now, I've only ever come across one other truck driver on YouTube that worked that little hours and actually took home a lot of money, and that was actually Anthony from I'm Anthony TV. He only works 40 to 45 hours a week at Gordon Food Service as a regional food service truck driver, and he still makes six figures. That is actually a rarity in trucking. You don't make that much money in trucking without working 55, 60, even 70 hours a week. Now, if you are somebody that makes that type of money, I'm talking $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a week take home, and you only work 40 to 45, maybe even 50 hours a week, let me know in the comments down below, because you actually have a very, very great trucking job. Please hang on to it. But unfortunately, in the case of Kayla, because the pay changed, she now has to work more hours to get the same amount of money she was getting before. But JB Hunt claimed that the reason why the drop pay was dropped was because the entire time they were paying the drivers on the Home Depot account incorrectly. It had absolutely nothing to do with merging with Van Buren. It had absolutely nothing to do with that. You know, drivers were only supposed to make mileage pay and detention pay. That's it. No drop pay. That's how drivers were supposed to be compensated this entire time.
They've been paying us wrong for 5 months or since the account started or whatever. When you pay somebody more, it'll go underneath miles, it'll go underneath detention. It's a whole nother bracket. It's a whole nother space for drops, and you telling me y'all been paying us wrong? How? That's a lie. Like,
now either these people are liars or they are incompetent. And I really do think it's a mixture of both, given the fact that the reason why Kayla quit the first time was because the equipment at JB Hunt sucked. The managers didn't do anything about it. It just seems like maybe management, maybe the human resources, the higher ups are either very incompetent or they're just liars, a mixture of both. Maybe, just maybe. Because how do you go all these months and you just now realize that, oh, wait, the drivers are not making the money they should be making. They should be making less. Like, literally everybody who sees your pay statements before you do, you have supervisors, you have payroll, all these people, all these eyes are looking at your settlements before you do. And now, they're just now realizing, oh, this isn't correct. Conveniently after they, merge with another account. Maybe they just don't have enough money to compensate everybody for drop pay. I really like it if these trucking companies were just much more honest with their employees. I'm just saying. Like I mentioned earlier, JB Hunt, they are actually down bad. They lost billions of dollars earlier this year. They have consistently underperformed their earnings. So maybe they're just downsizing. I'm not sure. But this is actually pretty ridiculous. Now, drivers do have the opportunity to make money, a lot of money, decent money at least, at JB Hunt. But in the case of Kayla, she has to work more hours just to make what she was making before they dropped the drop pay. Because at first she was only running like 1,500 miles a week. Seems like she has to run at least 2,000 miles a week, maybe even more, to make what she was making at first. And I just feel like that's just a terrible deal to be local and to make cents per mile. I think cents per mile overall is a scam, especially as a local driver, because you just work a lot more hours, it seems like, at least in my opinion, man. I'm local and I'm just exhausted at the end of the day. But yeah, that's terrible to be just making cents per mile as a local driver. I feel like the best compensation is to be paid hourly with overtime as a local driver, but that's not the case in Kayla's instance, at least. I really do feel bad for her. However, Kayla is somebody with an entrepreneurial mindset. She recently announced that she's now a franchise owner, so she does have multiple streams of income. So shout out to her. Definitely not somebody that puts all her eggs in one basket. And I feel like that should be the case for a lot of truck drivers. You shouldn't just put all your eggs in one basket. You should look to diversify, look for multiple streams of income, because we live in a very, very fickle trucking market right now. And it looks like things aren't gonna get better anytime soon, at least in my opinion. But hey, what said you? I want to hear from you now. How do you feel about JB Hunt dropping the drop pay? Are you somebody that currently works at JB Hunt? Are you on the Home Depot account? Do you feel like management was lying to the drivers about the reason why the drop pay is no longer on their paychecks? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, you guys are the best audience on the internet. If you enjoy videos like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Taja Woods, and I'll see you next time.